The Act came into force on the 15th of March 2022, and I think the first question really is why? What was it actually designed to do? And to provide you with some context, I'm on slide 2 now. I'd like to talk you through what the government has said this Act was designed to do. It had said that the UK is actually one of the world's largest and most open economies, which is a good thing. That makes it an attractive place for global business. But that same openness also exposes it to the risk of bad actors, so wrong uns, taking advantage, including to perpetrate fraud and money laundering, which then in turn funds serious and organised crime. And that happens here in the UK, and it facilitates also corruption that goes on overseas. So they said that the threat of illicit finance undermines legitimate business, and it impacts on everyday society. It impacts on citizens' lives, it permeates everything. I've just finished part 2, and I'm moving into the third and final section of this webinar. That's the part that talks about changes to the UK sanctions regime. Now, there are lots of small changes, as I flagged at the beginning of this webinar, and I'm just going to focus on the ones that I consider to be the highlights, but please do go away and explore this part of the Act for yourself. The objectives that relate to this bit and why there are changes to the UK sanctions regime are objectives 3 and 4 in the explanatory notes. So I put them up on the slide, and slide 13 at the moment. And those objectives are, firstly, to amend financial sanctions legislation, including the monetary penalty legal test and information sharing powers, to help deter and prevent breaches of financial sanctions. So let's stop people actually breaching financial sanctions. That's goal 1. The secondly was to amend sanctions legislation to enable ministers to impose sanctions quicker and in concert with others. The measures in the Act reform how sanctions are imposed, how sanctions are reviewed, and how challenges to sanctions are dealt with. So that's about the background working, really, of the authorities. So how can we impose sanctions quickly? How can we make sure we're sharing information so that there is an effective way of dealing with sanctions? That's what that 4th and final objective is. And I should also point out that, of course, and I flagged this at the beginning of the webinar, but just a reminder, that the 2022 Act was introduced in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And it was in order to crack down on dirty Russian money in the UK. So sanctions were very much at the forefront of the government's mind. And you need to bear that in mind when thinking about what they were trying to achieve here.